welcome back to a brand new show, the Trailer Park Show. We are glad we are here. We are live. Always imitated, never or duplicated, something like that. But we're here, and Pokey and I were just talking about this. We are probably the longest running show in Austin, other than whatever news show has their fun stuff that goes on. But we are the longest running show on public access here in Austin. 20-something years, 27 I believe, going on 28. We've been here for quite a while. I think I was 21 when all this stuff happened. But we're glad to be here. We're glad to have you watching today. And once we get everything up on YouTube and all that fun stuff, this is going to be a pretty cool show. And I got to hear the people that are here at the table with us that I am glad I am not part of this discussion. I get to host and kind of moderate some of the conversation because, man, everybody's above my pay scale. So a little bit story about why we're here and what we're doing today. A few months ago, probably about 6 months ago, we had a politics discussion meetup group that came in and we're having a discussion on politics and stuff that's going on in Austin, and of course, talking about national and local and whatnot stuff here. And we have an opportunity to bring several of the people that were in that discussion back, and also bring the main person who started it all, and talk a little bit about the group, talk about what's going on. And there's some questions that came up with recent events that happened this past week, and what a better group of individuals to go ahead and have those discussions. So without much further ado, allow me to introduce everybody here. Obviously, we have Anthony Nguyen here with us, who's one of the sponsors of the Trailer Park Show, and also one of the members of the group. We also have Kay. He prefers going by his middle initial versus the full name, because he doesn't want me destroying the name at all. And also we have Gary Teal, who's the executive director of the TCRP, or the Travis County Republican Party. Please do not confuse that with the civil rights group that likes to use the same initials and take away our 4 letters that we enjoy so much. And then of course we also have Joe Essuman, who is actually the main person of the meetup group, of politics discussion meetup, here with us. And then of course, there's me. So I want to be able to start this off a little bit. I want to ask you, because you didn't get a chance to be here the last time. Mm-hmm. So if it's okay, tell us a little bit about how you started this group, why you wanted to do this, and what's been going on.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'm a political junkie, right? So that's the reason why I kind of started this meetup. I wanted to kind of get some diverse sets of ideas. I'm somebody who actually likes to talk to people from a wide range of political spectrums, from a wide range of different backgrounds. And I think mixing these people up and putting them into a group, we kind of get to understand each other a little better. We kind of get to understand where each other are coming from. Mm-hmm. And people actually move. We actually see that where, they might be, further to the right or further to the left, and they kind of move based on the discussions and reasoning of some of the positions that we take. So I'm a political junkie. I started it. That was pretty much
How long ago did you start the group?
I started it, I think,
2 years ago.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, right? You haven't updated your intro. You still say you're new, and I'm just starting it. Yeah. The one thing I like about it is that it attracts a lot of new people.
Right.
People that just moved into the city, just like Gary and a number of other people. They come in, they don't know anybody in the city, and they go to meetup.com and just search for political discussion meetup, and they go, talking about politics. They're probably watching TV at home because they don't have any friends, and they're like, hey, I want to talk about this. We get a lot of new people that just stay for 1 or 2 sessions, but a couple of them do linger on, and it is a good way to get. I think you're relatively new to Austin too. All these guys within a couple of years.
Well, that's exactly what happened with me. I moved here and I saw that there was a discussion that I thought it dealt with Islam, and I thought that was an interesting discussion. And I stopped by and I was kind of struck by how well thought out everybody's position was. How people were actually, basically intelligent, kind of articulating their decisions. So I just stayed. I just stayed in every single discussion. Like Joe said, I just learned so much more. Just a couple of days ago, where the conversation moved towards healthcare, and I guess we're going to get into that. But somebody had educated me about their position, and I was like, okay, well, let me go back and do a little bit of research. So it's a great group where surprisingly we actually talk about the facts, we talk about our positions, and we stay away from emotions, right? And we actually listen to one another.
And that's the thing that drives me crazy watching cable news. It's so one-sided and so slanted that you get tired of hearing the same old rhetoric and talking points. And it's nice and it's refreshing to go to this group. And while Austin is very liberal, you get people from both sides there talking and discussing like regular people. And it's enjoyable to hear. And sometimes, yeah, we do change some minds. I remember the Black Lives Matter debate. I think I was the only one that was kind of against it, but I think I converted a lot of people that says that group was not legitimate.
You converted to the Black Lives Matter.
No.
Oh my God! Wait a minute.
Well, it was a discussion about, is it doing what it's supposed to? Is it, does it live up to expectations? And most people seem, to be on, the one side that it was a good group, but at the end of it, most people seem to come over to my side of thinking, and there wasn't anybody until that one girl that showed up at the end, who happened to be African American. She agreed with me, and then she actually started a splinter group off of it. There's been a couple splinter groups that kind of started with it, and so it's been an interesting mix of dynamics in it. And
so I when I signed up for the group, I think it was probably about almost 2 years ago. Actually, after the group started, and I was kind of hesitant to go because I was running for office at the time, and it was in South Austin, if I remember correctly. It was out of the area of where I needed to be at the time, and I think you and I were talking about it one day, and that was so. Here's the question that I wanted to ask: how many fights did you guys get into? I mean, and I don't mean like fisticuffs. I mean like verbal angriness and all that stuff.
We have yet, knock on wood, we have yet to see something like that at the meetup.
Yeah, it's been pretty civil.
Now I'm going to come.
That's Austin Wood, so we're okay.
Yeah. It definitely delves into debate. That's part of politics, right? We want to debate the issue, but the debate isn't so much that your comments offended me. The debates is more like, I need to reason this out through using debate, right? And I think most people understand that when you're in the political discussion group, that you're trying to reason out through debate. Awesome. And that's
because one of the things that I was always worried about, and I have seen it in other groups, where all of a sudden the overly sensitive people get upset, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, it's over. Yeah. And then it gets into a screaming match, and people do whatever. So it's not in that facet at all.
We haven't seen anything like that,
which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody's very respectful. I mean, some people get heated. I've had a few heated exchanges by people, but it hasn't gone to blows or anything. And we all shake hands after we leave, and we're all friends. So it's a good group, and it's different than online, right? Online, there's a number of political groups where, because you're online, people say some crazy things and people get heated. Right. And it's because you don't see them face to face. But I think when you are face to face with somebody, you see that they're a real person. You're not going to resort to that vitriolic attacking that is so common that you see online, unfortunately.
I think it also, the fact that anybody who wants to participate in a filter bubble will seek out a filter bubble. The group is not that. The group is a couple of people who want to talk about their ideas with somebody who disagrees with them. So I think by its essence, by coming to this group, you subscribe to the idea that, hey, I might get attacked, and that's okay. Right? I might change my opinions, and that's okay. So I think that's probably why you see that dynamic. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now, when do you guys meet up?
Right now, currently, we meet up on Saturdays at 4:30 over at Galaxy Cafe. That's every other week. We try to do one discussion on current events, and then one discussion, either doing an actual debate where we talk about a topic, or actually really delving into a particular topic and just talking about that for 2 hours. So that's pretty much how we kind of run the meetup at this point.
Very cool. Very cool. So what we're going to do, and I know we're going to be starting this conversation pretty soon. Real quick, 30-second synopsis of I mean, we know who you are. I mean, you're here. I mean, you're here quite often, so a lot of people know what Anthony does on his personal side. So 30 seconds. What do you do? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a bit of a global citizen. I've immigrated to this country. I was born and raised, surprisingly, in the Middle East. You wouldn't have guessed that. I'm originally from, my parents are from Sudan in Africa. I never lived there. I I immigrated when I was young, or at least moved to Canada when I was young, attended college and university. Sorry. Well, that's a Canadian saying. It's a very famous Canadian saying. And then I moved back to the Middle East, and last week I discussed how that was a reverse culture shock. And then after that, I always wanted to move back to North America, and I ended up moving to Texas, Houston, a couple of years ago. I work in tech. I'm a product manager. I'm a bit of a techie, designer, all that stuff. And I guess on the political spectrum, if there was a formal definition of what I am, I would say a left libertarian. That's where I fall.
Bernie supporter.
Well, no, I figured, based on what we were talking, I figured you'd be like classical liberal. Versus, I think on some of the stuff that you had talked about from what we were hearing earlier.
My disposition tends to be around how do we ensure to maximize liberty and make sure that everybody has there's a bit of economic equality or distribution of opportunity. But I don't believe that people I keep coming back to this conversation. I don't believe in handouts. I don't believe in those sort of things. So I'm a little bit. It is weird to be left and also to be a libertarian. Right. So these things pull at each other.
We'll change it. After today, we'll have a conversation. So Gary, tell us a little bit about yourself. 30 seconds ago.
Well, I just want to welcome you to the Republican Party. It sounds like you're a Republican to me.
We'll sign your paperwork in the bit.
I grew up in Abilene, and then I've spent the last 30 years in Washington, D.C., and came back to Austin. And like you're saying, this group is Meetup.com is a cool thing. You move to a different city and you want to get into a quilting bee, you can find people who are doing what you enjoy doing. And so I looked up this group. And yeah, I think the secret is that everybody comes expecting to have a political discussion. So they've sort of opted in. They're not getting ambushed at a dinner party or something. But the other thing I want to take a second to say is that it's civilized and well ordered because of Joe. And Joe keeps some structure to the thing, and he'll move back and forth between the two sides. So that makes it work. And so I think it's remarkable that this is not a small town. There's nearly 1 million people in this area, but by getting involved in this group, I started meeting the people who ran for office in 2016, people who are precinct chairs in the committee. So I'm a Republican, and I'm for the first time in my life, I'm an actual paid Republican. So I am sort of responsible for speaking.
Don't worry, nobody's listening, so you can speak your mind.
That's right. Well,
our Canadian guest or Canadian viewer that we had is already gone, so we're okay.
Did you say sorry?
I feel pretty comfortable doing what I do for the Republican Party because I figure in every election you have to pick a side, and I'm comfortable on the Republican side. Not because they're perfect and not because I agree with every plank in the platform personally, but because I think that prosperity and the things that we all want are things that come about with Republican ideas.
Cool. How about Joe? Tell us 30 seconds piece about you.
Yeah. So I'm from Wisconsin, born and raised. About 3 years ago, I moved from Wisconsin down to Texas. I did that, actually, weirdly enough, because I was on a business trip, and I actually winded up liking Dallas, and then I decided to kind of check out the different cities around, and then Austin went out, and I just bought a ticket and moved over here and started getting established. So I'm a CPA, so it makes life easy to actually do that. You can actually just go and give a call and head down. And for me, my political position is pretty much I value principles over anything else. I just don't care for brand names. So for me, I'm all over the place as far as I'm concerned. I really don't have a leaning towards one or the other. Yeah.
Very cool. So, okay, just a little bit of a side note as to why I say this stuff about Canada. We actually had a friend that was actually from Canada that was actually watching the show for a while. So, I actually sang "Oh Canada" on the show once. And then, of course, they left. They stopped watching the show, and I'm like, well, fine, be that way. You know, we even had some people from Mexico that were actually watching the show for a while, and I'm like, you don't want to watch it anymore? Fine, be that way. But I still have my opinions about both countries, and we kind of go from there. So one of the great things that was going on today is that we're going to be actually having a mini political discussion here today. We have some videos that we want to show that Anthony was able to pull up.
He's got it queued up.
And thanks to the internet, we had some problems earlier, but thanks to the no more rain at the studio, the internet is actually working. So what we want to do is have our first discussion. There's actually 4 topics. We will not get to all of them because we just won't.
And usually in our meetings, they're scheduled for 2 hours, but we usually stay 2 hours after. So they tend to be 3 to 4 hours because people can't stop talking. But today's current events. And if you
So
want
the first one we want to talk about, Ms. Polk, if you can pop up the Sean Spicer. We had some big discussion on that one.
Great to have you with us here on a Friday night, and we begin with that shakeup at the White House. Sean Spicer is out, resigning after 6 months on the job. Seen today outside the old executive office building, our correspondent was inside the West Wing as this drama was unfolding. Sean Spicer was there from the start, his first fight over the crowd size at the inauguration. So tonight, who's now in charge of delivering the president's message? ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl leading us off.
Today, just 6 months into the job, President Trump's embattled press secretary called it quits. Sean Spicer's brief tenure got off to a bad start.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
Spicer's debut made nobody happy. The president didn't like his look, including the ill-fitting suit, and others criticized his inaccuracies, or as another aide called them,
Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts.
2 days later, he took his first.
So here's a question I'm going to ask. Is this a big thing? Is it nothing? Or is it just like another day in the office? It's a toss-up. Whoever wants to answer. We're live, so don't leave any empty areas.
Well, it is big news. It's been 6 months. And, my feeling about it is he had a tough job. The president is his own spokesman. He tells it like he sees it. He's on Twitter by himself. And I don't know how anybody could easily do this job with somebody that speaks his mind and doesn't go through the normal communications channels. And, I don't think the press secretary is constantly talking with the president all the time. So he's seeking out information. And he probably had the toughest job in his cabinet to be able to speak for him. And I sympathize with Sean. He was the RNC communication spokesman before, and he did a fine job, but that was more of a traditional role. So to work for the president,
I think I picked it. The marker of the jack needed to be screwed back in.
All right. Well, we'll do it for the next one.
We'll do it for the next one.
Yeah, we'll do it for the next one. So I sympathize with him. I think Anthony Scaramucci, will probably be a fine person, but
So he resigned in protest to that.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Because did he want the position?
Yeah, I think he was trying to look to. He didn't want to be the number 2 guy. So, that was pretty much his. But then again, that comment that you're going to get this job over my dead body seems to be a little bit more than just, I don't want to be number 2. It seems to be there's a little bit more there. And I don't know, maybe the fact of how Anthony has been performing since going on these interviews, I don't actually think, I think that it was a good move, but I think he wasn't prepared, and then he went on TV, and I don't think he has been performing well subsequent to the press conference in
You don't think Anthony's scared? I think he's been pretty smooth. He's a smooth talker.
During the press conference, absolutely.
Yeah,
but when he had conversations with Jake Tapper, he was making comments on Russia that was unclear, that was not cleared by Washington. I guess he made the comment that Trump still doesn't think Russia did anything, which was again another media combustion.
Well, Trump doesn't think that. Trump knows if he's colluded with Russia.
Right.
And Trump has stated that. Well, first he stated that the Russian probably did hack the DNC, but that his campaign did not collude or anything illegal with the Russians that we should be alarmed of.
Right.
And, this constant media bashing about Trump and any little innuendo dealing with Russia, obviously Spicer didn't deal with it well enough, and Trump had to make a change.
I don't know if you can deal with it well enough. I mean, it's a constant, just a constant stream of events that keep happening. It's not like they're reporting about one thing. It's events that unfold and things that are coming out, truths that are coming. Like, for example, Donald Trump Jr. Right, meeting with that meeting that he had with Jared Kushner and all those people. That was the big thing, right? I'm guessing we're going to get to.
Well,
but I mean, so I would say yes, it would be a non-story if there weren't no new revelations. But there have been new revelations that have just kept propping up, which keeps the story alive.
And by the way, I think there's going to be another scandal or another regretful comment that's going to happen if they don't pull Anthony in. I think that his press conference performance was so good that I guess Trump and Trump's administration decided to put Anthony on every single TV screen before he's been briefed. This is obvious that Anthony needs to come. He hasn't even gotten his clearance yet to go in and look at the
he's still
documents.
letting go of some of his business arrangements before he can fully be
So
on
is this
board.
an immature move? Putting him in there now, since he doesn't have his clearance yet.
Well, they announced it, yeah.
Yeah, they announced it, but he's
They
actually
announced
working now. So do you think it's a bad move right now, or should they have waited till he got all his clearance and they say, hey, guess what? Here in a nice little bow is our new communications director.
Yeah.
There are two different issues here. One is whether someone has been prepped and is ready to step into the role, but the other question is just one of expertise. As I get older, I tend to value expertise. And I think that Sean Spicer knows the rules. He knows how the media is expecting information to be delivered. He knows just the etiquette of how to hold a press conference because he's been doing it a long time. So I think that it's clear that the voters have said they're not that concerned about expertise. They're not that concerned about experience. They want to see things done differently. And this is part of a very grand experiment. We're either going to find out that you don't have to follow these rigid establishment procedures and do everything the same way, or we're going to find out that it's better if you do it that way. And so I think Trump, probably with a lot of influence from Reince Priebus, made Sean Spicer, who worked for Reince Priebus all these many years, brought him in and said, okay, let's do this with someone who is an experienced member of that community. Spicer knows all those reporters by their first name. He knows, what time they wake up in the morning and what time they go to sleep. And Scaramucci, he can be the brightest guy in the world, but he's got a lot of on-the-job training to do.
Right. So I'm looking at you, Kay, because you got that look, as Gary was talking about. He had that look. So what are your thoughts? Is it a good thing that they did this?
Well, he mentions the point where there's a reason for a shakeup, and that's a very good point. I think that's something that we should definitely kind of consider. But there are areas where you don't necessarily need to shake it up. And I think with Sean Spicer, that's pretty much it's supposed to be a very dry type of environment where it's not something that should be making the news. And I'm kind of curious as to why that's making the news. And personally, I don't know if there's a lot of expertise in the Trump cabinet. I don't want to make a very contentious claim, but if you take a look at it, there's a lot of appointments that keep happening that are not necessarily, you don't see a lot of expertise. You don't see a lot of know-how going into
Spicer had the expertise,
and now he's been kind of was going to be
well,
number two.
What I find very interesting about the whole thing is, I work at home, so I have CNN on all the time. I listen to most of these press conferences, and I would say I knew probably 2 months ago that Spicer was out, because they kind of started speculating that he was on the out.
Yeah.
Then they started having
It was with Sarah Huckabee, right?
Sarah Huckabee doing it, and then Spicer was going elsewhere. I was like, Yeah, they're weaning him away from the spotlight, but I really didn't think that he was going to do it because it's only been 6 months. It would look very bad for your press secretary to be fired. Now, he didn't get him fired, but he got him to quit. And I just find it very unusual that it wasn't a total surprise when he resigned because of them, bringing Sarah in a lot of these press conferences and then just letting him go. So I want to just speculate a little bit. Who do we think is the next to go? And because I remember thinking, Spicer's going. So who do we think is the next to go? And I'll put this out there. I think Sessions is a good candidate, and Bannon. Both of them sound
Bannon's
like
been quiet.
Yeah, and under the radar,
which may be a good thing on his part.
Yeah. But everybody is frustrated with the president, and when what Trump is doing with Sessions by not leaking, but telling the New York Times, if Sessions would have told me, he would have recused himself. He's doing all he can to get him to quit. He doesn't want to fire him because it will look bad politically to fire the attorney general. But to get him to quit, what do? You say that you don't have confidence in the guy and get him to quit. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Sessions or Bannon would be the next to go.
Which interesting.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
I think that it's interesting too with the way, what's the temperature as far as the political spectrum now in the White House, right? I mean, you have Anthony, which I think actually pisses off Donald Trump supporters, right? Because of the comments that he's made and the positions that he's taken on gun rights, the position he's taken on a whole plethora of issues. He's a Democrat, right? And so, and this is something the Trump people are going, I'm a little suspect of this guy. And now you've taken away, you're kind of replacing a red face and putting a Democrat on the top, and then also, you're coming through and the establishment is losing, the alt-right is losing, and it seems like, what's his name?
Well, that's why Bannon is pissed, because Scaramucci, he's a globalist. He's a financier. He does business all over the world, and Bannon didn't like that fact, and that's why he is very pissed off at this decision.
So wouldn't it be a good thing though? Now, Scaramucci, Anthony has already said, look, he admitted I'm deleting the tweets because we have Michael Cargill from Central Texas Gunworks, who is one of our avid Republicans in the Travis County, who has posted the tweets that he had said back in 2012 or 2013 about controlled, reining in the Second Amendment rights. Right. And then he's already admitted this weekend, he says, hey, I'm deleting them. I'm telling you right now, I'm deleting them because that's not what I am supporting at this time, because I'm supporting what the president wants. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing this switch. Now, you mentioned about now supporters are saying, hey, wait a minute. But wouldn't it be a good thing on that part where we're saying, okay, we got a person who is now convinced in what the president is trying to do, that they've actually switched from the sides. I'll give you a case in point. I'll even throw it out there right now, whether he likes it or not. Matt McCoviak is a perfect example. Matt McCoviak was presumably one of the Never Trumpers. He got mad at Trump. He started saying whatever stuff he said on Twitter. He deleted them, and he wore the Make America Great hat once he became the executive director. Once he got into the fold of the TCRP, he says, I was wrong. And I'm in it too now, and I will support Trump, and many people believed him. So would we want to give him that benefit of the doubt as well?
I think it's a question of authenticity. Do you believe in those, in that change, or are you just doing it just for the sake of right now, just because you got appointed? And I think I think even if just in a broader context, that's what the election was really about, was authenticity. I think people felt Trump was more authentic than his adversary, who shall not be named. So I think it goes back to authenticity. Do you believe in the change that you've made? Right? And I don't know if he does.
Well, he's a spokesman. He doesn't have to agree on every single thing that his boss agrees with. He just needs to communicate it. And so he realized, hey, I got some positions that are out there in public. I should delete them so that it doesn't become a distraction. We're never going to agree on everything, but when you're in the limelight and you're the chief spokesman for the president, anything that you've ever said is going to come out. And he said Trump was a hack on his Fox Business show, and they've been playing it all weekend. Like, how are you doing that? And even Trump, his has brought it up against him, but Trump has put it past him. He's like, hey, you might have said that you were supporting another candidate, but he still hired the guy, which shows me that Trump is flexible. He's not dogmatic. He's not somebody that digs in and doesn't change his mind. And I think that's what we want as a leader. He has a lot of faults, but one of his faults is not being stubborn with a position. He is willing to forgive people and move on. So
one more thing, and then we're gonna actually jump around a little bit on what we wanted to talk about today. Sarah Huckabee. How many people? I've seen her, and I think she does really good. And doing what she's doing right now. They groomed her properly in this part. Do you think she's getting a fair shot by media and other people to be to that position she's in?
Well, she definitely lacks the smoothness, right? I think she has the intellect for sure, but she lacks the media relationship to smooth it out. And I think Donald Trump absolutely needs to smooth out this relationship with the media if he's going to be successful. And I get it. It's frustrating because the media has a tilt, right? I mean, we all know that the media, at least the big ones, lean towards more of a liberal spectrum. But I think if he has any hope or any chance of getting his agenda passed through, he's going to have to get this temperature in the media down. And I think Anthony does a great job, or could do a great job if he's prepared.
Well, he hinted that he has a studio in his pocket, TV and radio, and I think he's going to change up the way he communicates. I don't understand, why don't they do more videos? Why don't they do more movies? This style of, let me get in front of a podium and answer questions in the Oval Office daily is kind of an antiquated way of getting your message out. When it's at 12 noon, everybody's working, and the only people that are listening are the press and people like me who happen to be working at home.
But is it supposed to be that entertaining? I just need facts. I need details, right? It's information gathering. I don't know if we need to spice it up.
We're talking about politics.
No pun intended.
And in politics is what people think
Yeah.
without all of the information.
Yeah.
And so when people see the 6 o'clock news, they only know what, 30-second soundbite that the news media decides to give them. They're not listening to the press conferences like I am at 12 o'clock at my lunch hour and listening for unfiltered information. So doing more promoting of your message is a problem that this administration hasn't been doing, because they've been using traditional routes. And so whatever they can do, if he's going to do more media, more videos, whatever it is that he's hinting about, I think it's good to get his message out. Because right now, the mainstream media isn't getting his message out. It's all about Russia. And if you watch CNN since the election, it's Russia, Russia, Russia.
Well, it pays the bills.
You don't know what news is going on. It's
It
all
pays the
about
bills.
Russia. And it's sickening. And, I should change the channel, but I can't for some reason, because I feel like the rest of the world is watching CNN, so I have to watch it too. And I'll watch MSNBC at night. I don't even have Fox, but I just can't wean myself away. And it's frustrating because that's all they talk about.
So who follows Donald Trump on Twitter?
I do.
I do it, and I get the notifications on there.
Yeah.
Just so I can see what's popped up, because everybody's talking about him. So
I think everybody follows him on Twitter, in the sense that the mainstream media is not really depending on you to see that tweet. The mainstream media is repeating everything that he tweets. So
Right.
it's not really quite the end around that people say it is. It's interesting to me that you follow him and that you read his original tweet and you think to yourself, I know what this means.
Right.
I think most people are getting those tweets through the mainstream media with
an
They
interpretation.
tweet
an
something,
interpretation.
and it's
Context, yeah.
8 hours on CNN. Look what Trump said. Look what he did to Jeff Sessions. It's like how do they talk about one topic, 140-word tweet all day long? But they're great at it.
What Kay said, it pays the bills.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So here's one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know if anybody's noticed this, which is going to kind of tie into one of the other discussions that we're going to bring up. He's not tweeting as controversial as he is this past couple of weeks than he has before. Now, granted, he was in France. He had whatever summits that he was going to. But even during the summit times, when he woke up in the morning, you can see that afternoon tweet. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh my God, what the hell's this? But now he hasn't been doing those in-your-face tweets that people are like, that CNN's getting their money from. on what's being said. So do you think? So here's the thing. You mentioned before about people wanted something different. About how they didn't want the same old, and we're seeing Sarah Huckabee, we're seeing Anthony here, we're seeing other people that are in there that everybody's like, oh, well, they're capitalists and it's all bad. Is it a good thing?
I didn't say that.
Well, no, I mean, you got other people. You love it. I know that much. Gary loves it. But here's the part. Is this a bad thing? If we expected the unexpected because people voted for Trump, voting for Trump was actually, Trump getting in there was actually the sign of the unexpected. Mm-hmm. Is it a bad thing the way he's doing things now because we're so accustomed to how the media is supposed to talk, how they're supposed to get information to the media, and how things are supposed to operate because it's been the same old for the past 30, 40 years. Is it a good thing or bad thing that we're seeing this right now?
Can I actually respond to that
Yeah.
one? I think that the thing that we have to be concerned about is there a purpose, right? I mean, I don't mind chaos if it's in pursuit of a vision. But is it just chaos because you are just being emotional and therefore blustering out comments, or are you trying to get a goal done with the media? And if so, what's the goal? Are you trying, because I don't think, even for all the people who might be opposed to the media, right, just because of the tilt, the question is, what do you want from the media? Do you want the utter collapse of the fourth estate, of the media, of all of that, or what do you want? Right, and that should be Trump's thought process too. Is what do I want to get out of this instead of just a boxing match? What is the prize for winning the boxing match? Mm-hmm. Or are we just wasting energy and expounding energy for no reason just to fight? That to me is what I would ask as a addition.
How about you, Gary?
Well, I think that Trump mastered the capturing of the nation's attention. And, CNN has their shows like The Situation Room. They can't come on in the middle of the afternoon and say, everything's under control, everyone. You can maybe go watch a movie tonight because nothing is a crisis right now. There has to be a crisis for them to have their show. And I think that Trump has figured out the key. And so if there isn't a crisis at 4 p.m., there's usually a crisis by 5:30. And so I think that it's been something that it's, I really don't think that he is as much moving around the mainstream media as he is manipulating the mainstream media. And they still seem to think, they wake up in the morning and they say, wow, we gave him too much coverage and we made him president. But we're going to do it one more day because I think maybe this time when we say this is what he did, isn't this crazy, that he'll be impeached by dark if we just shine a bright enough flashlight on him. So we're going to do one more newscast, all Trump, all day long, and eventually people are going to get tired of it. But they're not getting tired of it.
How about you, Kay?
It's interesting. I actually wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I reach for my phone and I say, okay, what has Trump done today? Right? And I literally go, I navigate and I see, new things. I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know if, it worked in terms of the election. Now, to which degree, to what degree is questionable. But I think, he spent less than I think any other candidate, maybe perhaps Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. Or at least most candidates. Right. Definitely Hillary, definitely Jeb Bush. But he got the attention. He got so, magnitudes more of media attention. But it's not campaign time anymore. This is now you are president. And I don't know. This is new territory. And I like change, being a guy in tech, but I'm not sure if this is the right type of change, because I think while it's clear that he wants attention, I'm not sure if that's actually, if there's anything more to it than that, which is my name has to be mentioned. Take, for example, the time when he was, chastising Arnold
Schwarzenegger?
About the
ratings.
The ratings. That has nothing to do with anything at all, but it was clearly a way to kind of keep his name in the news. So I'm not sure. I don't know what the long-term game is, and I guess we're going to see what's going to happen in another 3.5 years. But I will tell you, the last 6 months have felt like 3 years. Right?
Yeah,
How about you, Anthony? You love it. You love it. I admit it.
Trump, I don't know if there's a strategy behind what he's doing. I watch all the time, and it definitely is distracting what he comes up with, and I wish he would dial it back so that he could get his message out, because he's almost feeding the media, who he knows is against them, but he's doing it to himself, and I see that, and I wish he would control himself, but it doesn't seem like anybody can control him, unfortunately. And maybe this new communication director will help that. You know.
I'm going to put it to this way, and I know we're going to get ready to move on to the next section, which I believe we have someone in the studio that's going to do that part. If anybody read The Art of War,
Yes.
and The Art of the Deal, puppets. Basically, the way I see it right now is that he's just basically pulling the strings and making sure everybody reacts. And the people that people that are reacting are the people that don't like him. And you're looking at people in the media, including whatever side you lean on, that they're actually responding to the whole thing that he's doing. He's just plucking those strings and he's just saying, okay, now you're gonna dance. And now, as they bring in these new people in there and they start fashioning themselves as to how they need to be, eventually in time, like you were talking about, you're waiting for it to mellow out. I think they're now at that time where it's going to have to mellow out, because we had something, and I'm going to say, this is a nice segue, because we had something big that failed on the Republican side. Now, there's going to be a video that we're going to be trying to watch right now, which about, Ms. Polk, if you got a chance, about the health care bill. If you can play that one real quick.
I regret that the effort to repeal and immediately replace the failures of Obamacare will not be successful.
Disappointed. Very disappointed. I don't think it's dead, no, but I'm certainly disappointed. For 7 years I've been hearing repeal and replace from Congress, and I've been hearing it loud and strong, and then when we finally get a chance to repeal and replace, they don't take advantage of it, so that's disappointing. So I'm I would say I'm disappointed in what took place. And I think you'll also agree that I've been saying for a long time, let Obamacare fail, and then everybody's going to have to come together and fix it and come up with a new plan, and a plan that's really good for the people, with much lower premiums, much lower costs, and much better protection. I've been saying that, Mike, I think you'll agree, for a long time. Let Obamacare fail. It'll be a lot easier. And I think we're probably in that position where we'll just let Obamacare fail. We're not going to own it. I'm not going to own it. I can tell you the Republicans are not going to own it. We'll let Obamacare fail, and then the Democrats are going to come to us and they're going to say, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? Or how do we come up with a new plan?
I'm one of those that did not like the Affordable Care Act. I did not like it because, in my opinion, it happened to me and it happened to a few other people. It killed the middle class by the rising costs and by the deductibles that came in. It literally killed the middle class, and it actually killed some of the poor.
I'm not sure about literally.
No, literally. No, seriously. I had a nice little nest egg,
Yes.
but because of a cancer scare I had, I don't have it anymore. I have a friend I had a person that I paid their deductible of over $600 to go ahead and help cover their bill. This was before I remarried, because I had the extra funds. And the wife had to end up selling their property just to try to make sure that they met the deductible before they even got seen by their services.
Audio doesn't work. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah,
The gremlins are in there.
That's all good.
I can just show the video while you're talking about it.
Well, no, friend, we're good. We're good.
Okay, well,
But I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, best laid plans
That's
are laid kaplooey.
So as we mentioned before, we have a studio. When it rains, it acts up, and we're having one of those situations. And we apologize to everybody.
Gremlins.
The gremlins are acting up, But we had people that I know that had to sell their personal belongings just so that they can get services, because they couldn't pay the deductible. The $6,000 deductible. They had to sell all their stuff. And so for me and for other people, it kind of saw that it hurt a lot of people. And we had this healthcare bill, good, better, and different, that no one wanted to vote for because, well, we can bring that discussion up. What failed it? What failed the GOP healthcare bill?
I think, in the words of the president, it's too cruel.
Too cruel to whom? To the Republicans that are going to be up for election?
I think
or
it's
to
just
the people that are going to be using the insurance.
well, I don't know if I want to air it out in public. I think Joe doesn't like it. No, well, my position is I think that the ACA was a half measure. So I definitely sympathize. I'm not sure statistically what that means, and where you fall if that's I don't think that's a general experience regarding ACA, but you're seeing town halls. You're seeing people coming out and talking in support of ACA, right? And some people are saying it hasn't gone far enough, and I tend to agree. So I think that is what ended up, while the campaign rhetoric was repeal and replace, I think the replacement...
it was just repeal. I don't remember hearing replace until like after the election. It was repeal, and they passed a repeal bill over the last straight repeal. There was no replacement. It was just roll back the ACA.
I can say this part, and maybe I'm wrong on this end, but I distinctly heard people say we're going to repeal this and we're going to replace it with something bigger and better to make everybody happy.
And then it was for a very long time that there was a secret plan that was in the works, and then I guess we saw it, and I think the majority of the Americans don't support it, right?
Now,
the majority of Americans haven't read the ACA bill, haven't read the GOP bill. They only know what the media, who does not like it, has told them. Yeah. So I wouldn't like it either if all I hear is, 18 million Americans are going to lose their coverage, when you don't lose your coverage because of the plan. You lose it because you elect not to buy it. Mm-hmm. You regain the freedom of choice. Do I buy insurance or don't I buy it? And just because of the plan going into place and the mandate going away doesn't mean you lose it. If you don't buy it, you don't have it, but you have the choice.
So it's not lost through I guess access. It's lost through affordability, right? It's higher premiums, higher deductibles. That's what the CBO has said.
No, it's people who are opting out of insurance,
yes,
which they cannot legally do now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you give them the option to opt out,
then that drives the risk into a small group.
And I think that Republicans generally feel that it's okay to let people make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And here I can see both sides of this argument. I think that Democrats say, no, people are stupid and government needs to tell them what to do. And so government's going to give them insurance whether they want it or not. And if they don't buy it, we're going to punish them. And so that's a defensible argument that consumers should not be trusted to decide whether or not they need insurance. They should be forced to pay for insurance. And of course, if some of those people are forced to pay for insurance when they're perfectly healthy and young, that's all to the good if you're trying to collect insurance premiums that you'll use on sick people. So I think that's it's not that repeal would cause someone to go door to door and take away coverage that people have. It's that it would remove the requirement that they do it. And that, as Anthony's saying, it's not really fair to call that loss of coverage. And then one of the other points is there is a difference between coverage and health care. If you get health care because you don't have insurance, you still get the health care. It's a complex subject, and people are laughing at the president.
In the words of the president,
that it's complex. But he's saying that because it is, and I think that we have had 8 years where the idea was you can keep your doctor, you can keep your insurance, you're going to love this, it's not going to cost very much, and you're going to get great health care for less money. And I think a lot of Americans, liberal Americans, old Americans, young Americans, conservative Americans, they all want to pay about $75 a month and get liver transplants or whatever they need. They want to eat whatever they want to eat and then let the doctors save their lives after they've been eating whatever they wanted to and ingesting whatever they wanted to, smoking whatever they wanted to.
And let's not pretend, though, that the Republicans did anything, right? This was engineered as a stunt. right? I mean, there's no way that they were serious, right? I mean,
About what?
About repeal and replace, right? I mean, at the standpoint that that on the week of the vote, no one knows what they're voting for. There's 3 options.
No, they
on the
were
table.
serious. They were serious.
I mean, there's no one in the conference room to have the meeting. There's about 10 senators. Well, where's the rest of the senators?
Oh, because
right. So I mean, and not only that, when this legislation is actually supposed to take in place, right? It's after everyone wins, right? After when everyone goes out, they win their elections. Trump come back.
Well, even ACA didn't go into effect until six. His six-year presidency.
Still, right? I mean, to think that the Democrats aren't just going to roll in again, right, during a change election and implement the same kind of system, and not only that, not to even talk to the Democrats to see if there's something sustainable, to repeat the same mistake Obama did, and not even talk to the other side.
I'm not sure if Obama didn't talk to the other side.
But they pushed it through without the other side, though. There was
Zero
no
votes.
votes from the
Zero
other
votes.
side.
It was all the shining vote was actually Lieberman, because
Yeah.
he was the independent.
Yeah.
And everybody else. There was no Republicans that actually voted for the Affordable Care Act.
Vote is different, but it wasn't constructed in the dark. Like I believe currently the AHCA, which is not that easy to pronounce, was constructed in the dark. People were left in the dark from the left.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like one of those. It's kind of like the whole party thing. I mean, the pretty people get to go to the party. The ugly ones like myself don't get to go. They tell you, hey, this is how it went. You're gonna love it.
Oh no,
and
that's
kind of the way it worked out. Yeah.
But it was a point that was made during the ACA's time, was you guys are doing this in the dark. You're not involving us as Republicans, and now
Well, yeah, because a lot of people didn't like Trump. I mean, seriously. I mean, you're gonna expect that every Republican was gonna automatically fall in love with Trump. It's basically one of those things. Either you're gonna love me or not. And if you love me, great. I'm gonna go ahead and have you in there, and you'll be part of the excitement. And if you don't, well, guess what? There's a table back over there. You can go sit at the kids' table.
Yeah.
It's kind of my perception was that's kind of the way it worked out in that part.
Right.
I will counter the argument a little bit based on Pelosi's side. Okay, based on Pelosi's comment. Nobody knew what was going on in that sucker, and they said, "Well, you won't see it until it's all voted in." And so, not many people probably saw exactly everything that was going on. They probably saw what the CBO said, what the White House was putting in their white papers, and then you go from there. It's the same thing on both sides. I mean, they were just playing. It just depended on the number of people that were going to be.
Here's a brilliant solution, and I wish the clip would have played. But so last week, the vote failed in the Senate to bring up the bill, the repeal and replace bill. So they said, okay, we're going to do just a straight repeal bill. And Trump came out and said, let it fail. But if they do a repeal only, which it doesn't sound like it has support, but if they did that and repealed it with a 2-year gap, and we know that we're going to repeal in 2 years, I think they can get Democratic support to come on board, because if they don't do anything, it's going to be fully repealed. And with the threat of a full repeal, I would like to think they can get some Democrats and some Republicans to come on board and do something. Because right now, if we do nothing, we have ACA. But if we repeal it, all right, now we'll go back to the way it was 6 years ago, which is worse than doing nothing, and that will force the Democrats. So strategically, I think that is a winning strategy for the president. If you can communicate that to the senators, repeal it with a delay, and bring the Democrats in play ball.
I think the Democrats will watch it burn. I think they will, because the reason why is they watched it the first time. Right, they watched it the first time and they all said, "Hey, nah," and rose up and dance. Right, so this is, and the reason why is that you have to understand the protest that we saw under Obama. Obama was saying, "I'm going to give you something." Now you're going to go out to the American people and you're saying you're going to take it away. And unfortunately, that language, it's just very hard to translate how they're going to win with you taking it away. I mean, this is going to be...
I agree. It's always harder to take something away.
It's just so much easier to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Santa Claus. I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a fair position. I mean, no, quite honestly. Sorry?
Being a Democrat or what?
No, a fair position to say that it's easier to be a Democrat, because, it is... the party of solutions, right? It hasn't been the protest party for quite a while, and right now the Republicans with a majority can't get anything done, quite honestly, regarding healthcare, right? Which, in my honest opinion, is a little bit of a bad place to be, to put it nicely. I honestly believe that, I'm happy that the ACA has happened. I have mentioned earlier that it's a half measure. I think that people are already starting to talk about what I tend to favor, which Joe doesn't at all, which is Medicare for all, right? Single payer, right?
Single payer, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, as you heard earlier, I lived in Canada. My fiance works in the NHS in England, so I've seen that firsthand. And I think that a lot of people, if they actually see it, they will tend to appreciate it a little bit more.
I think that I argue the single payer thing because I actually worry about it too. I worry that we are going to see a lot of Democrats taking over Congress and the Senate, and I'm okay with that. But the question is, now you guys are pushing single payer, and I'm asking, well, okay, how is single payer a solution for anything? Right? How is allocating the cost and broadening it out to the whole entire base a solution for anything, right? Why not directly target the cost at hand and reduce it that way? Why introduce this huge bureaucratic process into our healthcare
So you can have
system?
a negotiating power over those parties, right?
Well,
as the one
Medicare
single
doesn't negotiate. They set
and
the
that's
prices.
the problem. And that's the
They
problem.
set
I
the
agree that
prices
they're not
and
going
says
that
it's
far.
this, and that's why only 35% of doctors take Medicaid, Medicare.
Well, because they don't pay enough.
Right,
Yeah,
they don't pay enough. They can go
make
to
nothing.
take regular insurance and get 3 times as much. It's a price fixing scheme, and
Well, I wouldn't call it a scheme. It's a
well, that's what it is.
It's like Amway. Let's just put it that way.
We're only going to give you this amount.
Call it a duck.
Take it or leave it. But it doesn't lower the actual cost, and that's why I don't agree with either ACA or the new bill.
But
None of them tackle the root
But we're
cause of
spending
the
way
problem.
more than most countries on healthcare.
Because both parties are playing politics with this whole thing and not trying to figure out solutions. I agree with you. It's not like I'm looking over at the Republicans and going, oh my God, you guys have it. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that both parties are just playing politics, and none of them are coming up with an idea that actually fixes the damn thing.
And on that note, guys, we have probably about a minute and a half. I really want to thank everybody for being here. This is actually a pretty good discussion where I really don't have to get involved with the talk. I love it. This is, I'll throw in my pieces. So tell us again, when's your next meeting?
Yeah, so the next meeting is next week, Saturday. Sir Anthony will actually be hosting that meeting. I've kind of
Be another-
we've kind of
He's been
added
noted.
some
He's
leadership.
been promoted,
and-
all right.
Yeah. So Anthony will be leading that one, and he'll be talking about current events. So next week.
Yep, August 5th, Galaxy. Go to meetup.com, search for political discussion meetup, and just sign up. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. And 4:30 on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And where is it going to be at again?
Galaxy Cafe. It's over on the west side of Austin.
How come you guys don't have anything on the east side?
Um,
Come on.
We've been all over. We've been downtown. We've been south. We tried it up north, but downtown area seems to get the most people to come out. So
Very cool. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is
Thank you
actually
for
been
having
a
us.
really, really good show, and I'm actually looking forward to watching this again once everything gets up and running on the YouTubes and whatnot. Pokey, you have anything real quick to say?
Yeah, we'll be back next week. I didn't get to go on about the tragedy from San Antonio this weekend, but
All right.
yeah, we'll be back next week. Week after that, we got a couple shows lined up. Thank y'all for being here. It was good to have these kind of discussions. We didn't let my buddy Gary talk too much, but he got in there every now and then.
So on that
We'll
note,
do this
guys,
again.
you guys take care.
Thank you.
Good stuff.